Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Connecting the Dots. Thank you for your patience as I've taken a few weeks from the show. I'm really excited to be back and interviewing one of my favorite coworkers who has become a friend and an inspiration to me. Alicia, would love for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Alicia. Hello, everyone. I am from New Orleans. I teach yoga, but I am an insurance agent, right? I just renewed my license. I was like, I'm done with that, but I just renewed them, so I don't think I'm done with that.
Sure.
I'm a mother of two. I inherit a third. So yeah, I'm trying to do this yoga, holistic coaching, private trainer thing and try to stay away from insurance, but it's the life insurance that I can't stay away from because I actually believe in that.
Yeah,
So it's hard for me not to sell that. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And I'm interested, how did you get into did you get into selling insurance before the yoga? Did it happen at around the same time? Tell me more.
I know, right? It's two different personalities. So I've been selling insurance since 2008. So I've been licensed since '08. What happened was when I came here from New Orleans, when Katrina hit, I moved to Denton, Texas. And there was this program at the workforce called the youth program. And it was from like 16 to 24. And at the time I was about 21, 22 years old and I needed a job. So I found this place and it was like, hey, you should do the youth program. It'll help you find a job, keep a job, learn how to write a resume, keep a resume, just all those little different things. And I did that for about 6 to 8 weeks. And they introduced me to Allstate. So I was like an intern at Allstate.
Right.
The Allstate agent didn't pay me, the workforce did. And then after about 9-10 months, he hired me on. Got licensed and I've been doing it ever since. And then that was in '08. And then in 2016, I found yoga as a student. Yeah.
Okay, actually, before I continue with my million questions, I'm starting a lot of episodes this season with the question, what is a daily ritual or habit of yours?
So when I get out of bed, I try to stay away from the phone. I keep a glass of water next to me on my nightstand. I drink that, gunk it down. And I just sit there and I breathe. First, I'd say thank you for waking me up because I'm grateful for waking up. I have some health issues. So I'm just like, I'm grateful that I woke up, right? And I breathe here, I take deep breaths, try to meditate a little bit for about 2 minutes, because I don't want to meditate too long. I'll go back to sleep. I did it before. I'll meditate for a little bit, get up, go to the restroom, do whatever I got to do. I have a cup, a mug. And so you get to put coffee and tea in the mug. And then there's something else that you can put in the other part of the mug.
Ah.
Something like that. And so I drink my tea or my coffee and I kind of like go through the news and my emails before I wake the kids up for school. And then that's my majority, the Monday through Friday daily routine,
I love that you have a moment to connect with yourself, something that you like to do, like to have, whether it's your coffee, tea, and then you're like, okay, the chaos can begin.
Well, it's always the calm before the storm. So I have to prepare myself. If not, then I'm gonna be cranky to them. And then they're gonna start off their day messed up because I started it. So it's like, let me get me in, let me wake up a little bit early, get me in, and then I can wake them up with love.
How much earlier do you have to get up? Because it doesn't sound like this routine is like crazy long or anything.
I get up about 30 minutes before everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just need that, before the 5-year-old came in the house, it wasn't that mandatory.
Yeah.
Now it's a must.
Especially when you thought that you had finished with that stage of life, I'm sure.
Dude.
It's
Fun. So
So, okay, now thank you for sharing that. Super helpful. But circling back, so you came to Texas after Katrina, you're finding a job, you're getting it, you're figuring it out, getting settled. What helped you get through all of that?
it needed to be done.
Yeah.
You know, like I was in a whole new foreign land. They was calling us refugees instead of evacuees because, you know, a refugee is someone that moves that needs savior from one country
Right.
to another. And I know New Orleans is its own little country, but dang, they took it to the extreme. So it was frustrating not even being treated like I was supposed to be treated. Like seriously, it was really, really uncomfortable being called a refugee. It was really uncomfortable the whole way the Katrina thing happened. You know, it was like, this doesn't seem natural.
Yeah.
The whole thing, the whole thing.
Okay.
So I had to come out and do what I had to do. It was either sink or swim.
Yeah. And you have swam, and it feels like to me that you have found your purpose, something that I have heard time and time again, the amount of people who I've encountered, whether it's a teacher at Black Swan or a student. I was just at a bridal shower and talking to someone I'd never met before, and they were like, "Oh, you teach at Black Swan?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "I took this one class. I don't remember her name, but I will never forget her class. It's the best yoga class I've ever heard because she spoke to me. Like I felt so motivated. I felt so seen." And I was like, "Was her name Alicia?" And she was like, "I think so." And I was like, "Yep, that's the one." And I just think that that story was so telling to who you are and the environment that you create. And I loved taking your class when we taught back to back, and how people in class were cheering each other on and motivating each other and encouraging each other to do the crazy poses that seem impossible. And so, how from 2016, when you started as a student, did you get to this place where people are impacted by you by just taking one class? It's a
Well,
loaded question.
I started yoga because I lost my mom and my grandmother. I lost my mom February 8th, 2015, and then my grandmother died Christmas morning of 2015.
Oof.
So I went to the YMCA on January 1st because I just was angry and upset and I wanted to feel something, you know?
Yeah.
And I found yoga and, you know, moving my body, it felt good. And this is for me, right? This is not for anyone else. I'm being selfish at this moment, right? So this is me. This is me wanting to feel something besides what I was feeling.
Yeah.
And then my brother was murdered December 2nd, 2018.
Oh my gosh.
I'm grieving,
Yeah.
but I'm not grieving like the rest of my siblings. Like I'm able to handle business, get the funeral arrangements, do what I have to do. Still emotional, but I am thinking logically. I had to detach myself emotionally to handle business, right? And so I was like, you know, this is weird for me, you know, handling this and channeling this energy, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, can't be yoga. It's just a workout, right? It was just a workout, right? And then his son was murdered February 10th, 2020. And that's the nephew that I'd inherit. That's his son, right?
Got it.
So understand how I'm like the next elder or whatever. I'm an elder. But yeah, so when my nephew was murdered in New Orleans in 2020, now this is like my son because he lived with me for a little while. You know, I'm grieving. I mean, it hit me hard. But again, I'm able to handle business. I'm able to move things around, get obituaries, you know, I'm able to do what I have to do. And yet no one else was really able to keep it together the way I was. I was like, this gotta be the yoga. has to be the meditation. It's no way. It's just, I'm changing, So I did a little bit more research with yoga because at first I was just moving my body.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to get deep into it.
Yeah.
I started doing more research on it and I'm like, I think it is the yoga. I want to teach this to people. I Googled yoga teacher, how to become a yoga teacher. Cause I didn't know anything, And this lady named Kay Joy popped up. And I'm like, who is this? And she's like, she's on her hands and doing stuff. And I'm like, I want to get to know her.
Yeah.
And so I emailed her and she emailed back. She's like, yeah, I do teachers training, blah, blah, blah. We're here at Black Swan Yoga. I'm in Arlington. I don't live in Dallas. I'm in a different county.
Yeah.
I would never be at Black Swan today if it wasn't for that woman. I wouldn't. So I started yoga, and as soon as I started the yoga in like the end of February, early March, this little thing called COVID happened.
Oh, yes.
Just a little bit, right? So it was against the law to have a group of 20 together in a small room, right? Against the law, whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, you want to still do it? And we were like, yeah. And so we continued our YTT training.
Yeah.
We eliminated the breathing and the hot air to a certain extent, but that's where I found it. And I graduated June of 2020, and my first class at Black Swan was August 2020. It was a Wednesday at 7:30 a.m.
Oh my gosh, I love that you remember the exact day, class. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing the heartache in your story and the way that you were like, I think that there is something to this practice. I know that a lot of people have found yoga through grief or needing time and space for themselves or to move their body or just to have an outlet. And I'm sure a lot of people will really appreciate you sharing that. I also found yoga in a state of grief. So I appreciated hearing you being vulnerable and sharing that. And I'm really sorry for all the loss that you've experienced over the last few years. I can't even imagine how tough that has been. But something that I appreciate about you and have appreciated before even knowing all the details is that you are able to find meaning and purpose and messages or lessons and share them with other people. Has that come from these experiences and life? Have you always had this like innate ability to turn the positive? I know one time after your class, someone was saying that you should become a preacher. Like, where did all of this come from?
All right. So growing up, I always thought I was a decent person, But when I was a little baby, the story has been around the family for so long. My oldest brother, he's about 5 years older than me, so he was about 5 at the time. And I was about maybe 6, 7 months, not sure. I was on the floor, laying on the floor, asleep. And he said, a lady picked me up, put me in the bed. It freaked him out. And if you ask him 30 years later, he will tell you the same story over and over. After talking to my mom, she said a lady did pass away in the house. Her husband unalived her. And all my brother can tell you is she was a white woman. She had beautiful long hair. She was beautiful. She wasn't touching the floor. She wasn't touching me, but she picked me up and put me in the bed. And ever since that, he was like, you're going to be special. You're going to be special. That little thing, right? So that's just something that's always in the back of my mind. But I believe that everything that I tell you guys, the stories that I tell you, the quotes that I tell you, the sensation that I'm telling you you're feeling, I've been through it.
Yeah.
You know what you're going through. So I'm just speaking from experience. that's all it is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I got chills when you told that story.
Yeah, he tells that story. He calls me all the time. He's like, we're from New Orleans. And he's like, son. I'm like, son, man, I'm telling you, you're different, you're special. And I'm like, thank you, I appreciate you. He was like, I'm telling you, I know what I seen. And I'm like, I believe you. So yeah.
I believe him too, for what it's worth. And thanks for sharing that. And your authenticity like really comes out in class. And I think that's why people love coming to your class, don't mind being packed in a 40-person room with 60 plus people.
I hate people around. I hate turning them around.
And I think that it's really truly amazing that again you're able to turn those experiences into something that can help other people. And I know that you acknowledge that throughout these tough moments in your life that you are able to breathe, take control, detach, move from point A to point B. And slowly but surely you're like, I think that there's something to this yoga. What other benefits have you noticed from practicing?
My son can tell you that. I had my baby when I was 19. So we grew up together, you know? He watched me grow up and develop into the woman I am now. So I always send him messages out the blue saying, thank you so much for having grace for me. But I know that my patience, I see my patience again. I grew up a fighter. Believe it or not, I grew up a fighter, and for me to be patient and detach myself and don't want to talk and have an uncomfortable, it's easy to fight. It's uncomfortable to have that conversation, that uncomfortable conversation when you know that somebody's not going to come out happy. You know, it's easy to just fight, don't say anything, argue about it, scream at each other and keep going. Yeah. But sit down and have some type of understanding, it can be uncomfortable, you know? Somebody putting a mirror in your face and showing you this is what you did and this is who you were at that time.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to see themselves at that time, you know? So admitting my faults, apologizing, listening, I didn't do it. It was either my way or the highway. It was like, I don't want to hear you. I was very belligerent. Yeah, I grew a lot. A lot.
Thanks for sharing that. And I appreciate you explaining like the patience that it gave you. Do you think that's because it forced you to slow down? Do you think it was just giving your body the opportunity to move through emotions? Something that I love when I take your class is you talk about where emotions are stored in the body. Where do you think in the practice that has come from? Or do you think it's just the whole package?
It is the whole everything, right? But then when you go through things or when because you know I'll slow down. When the body is made to move perfectly, you know that, right? Your background. And sometimes we get these engine lights. Yeah, you know, letting us know things aren't working correctly. And we just have to pay attention. Why is this going on? And I believe everything is a learning experience. So for me, it came from living, but then I want to be in the moment. So being in the moment, I would say being in the moment, right?
Totally. And so you were sharing that 2016, January 1 was your first yoga class. We're just looking for an outlet, and then continued your practice until you did YTT in 2020. How consistent were you? When did you start to become so amazing at it and being able to do all the transitions that you can do? Did you immediately be like, this is what I'm doing every week? What was your process like?
I was petrified. who am I to hold space for these people? My original thought. And, when you're a new teacher, you imitate your favorite teachers, right? Until you find your voice, until you find what works for you. So when I first started, it was trial and error. I kept trying shit, won't work. I was like, okay, that won't work. My styles changed, my knowledge changed. When you know better, you do better. I still feel like y'all are like, oh, she's this great teacher. And I'm like, I appreciate that. And you have no idea. I'm grateful for that. I'm just like, I have so much to learn. I have so much to learn, but I know if I live by you guys' praises, I'll die by you guys' criticisms. So
Sure.
when you tell me this, I take it and I love it, and then I have to cut my cords, the good and the bad. You have to, or it'll turn into some ego thing or whatever. But yeah.
And then at what part in this journey, I appreciate you saying that there's always more to learn, because I feel that way. I'm like, I want to get more into breath work. I want to get more into sound. I want to get more into the advanced asana. Like I feel that of like, there's just always something more, which is what I love about the practice in and of itself. So where in this I want to learn more did holistic coaching come to play?
Oh man, I gotta get shout out to Melanie Taylor. She is my mentor. She did my 200 hours at Black Swan. And then I did my 300 hours with her at Salt Yoga.
Amazing.
And I did my holistic coaching with her. Because this is the thing. All right. So I went through a breakup in 2020 and it was salty, right? And I wanted to channel that energy somewhere else. And I knew that she were in the process of helping people transition energy. And I also wanted to help people that energy, but also I was going through it at the same time. And I didn't know how to teach someone something that I was going through until I knew how to go through it. So we went through this 6 to 8 week program as she helped me channel my energy that I was going through. And then she taught me how to help others as she was challenging my energy. So it was amazing. Like, my father and our relationship was not good at all. She helped get that back together. So that's my guy now. We talk all the time. That's how I know she's the truth. He's one of my favorite people in the world. And if you would have asked me that 6 years ago, I'd have been like, and now I'm like, I think I'm a daddy's girl. And I would have never said that. So, we all have energy and it's just not going to die. It's going to transfer. It's moving. So let's move it somewhere good. Whereas there's dark, there's light. Yeah. I lived through it. So I want to help other people go through it too.
That's amazing. So is part of the coaching process like energy healing, or is it more of just like working through what you're going through? Like, tell me a little bit more about it.
It is working through what you're going through.
Yeah.
Right. So it is moving that energy out, moving the trauma out of your body, working through what you're going through. Yeah. Yes.
That's amazing. And I'm pairs super well with yoga, especially the moving piece, quite literally.
Yes.
That is so cool. So then you did your 300 hours. Love that. You finished that this year.
Yeah, this year it was August. It was August.
Oh.
Yeah, it was August 4th.
So what are your biggest takeaways from 300 hours?
Whew. Just understanding more onto yoga, getting deep into it, right? It's like the 300 kind of remind you what you forgot in the 200 with a little bit more, because if you're not in that space, you kind of lose it. And society is built for you to lose it. That's what society is made for. So it reminded me a lot on who I were and how I drifted off and where I need to be going. Yeah.
Have you found that it has shifted your teaching a little bit in the last 2 months?
Oh my God, yes. I am storytelling more. My sequences are, I don't want you to think that they wasn't more thought out, but they're more, it's different now, you know? My music changed a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I still play my music, but then at the same time, there's times I'm like, we don't need any words. Sometimes we're just abstractions, but sometimes the words help. Sometimes words help, but sometimes we don't need any. So
Yeah.
it changed a lot. Yeah.
I love your storytelling, and this one story that you were telling a few times when I was taking your class this past year was the story about the boy and the farmer.
The farmer and his son.
Yes.
Yes.
And that story, I feel like, has helped me in so many moments of not trying to judge what is happening around me and labeling it that why is this terrible thing happening to me, or like I'm so lucky, why is the most amazing thing happening, and like just letting it happen instead of trying to assign judgment or feel a certain type of way. And I think that is just from hearing this story from you over and over again. And like truly the first time you told it, I was like, huh, that's an interesting way to view things. And then as I continued to hear it, I was like, wait, that's like really helpful. And so when you're choosing stories to tell, is it the stories that have hit home for you, stories that you've heard have been impactful? Like where are you like, today I'm going to tell this during Shavasana? How, I just want to know, how do you do it? Because I want to be more like you. I love it. I think theming is my favorite part of yoga, but I'm not always good at being like, and now let me like tell the story, or yeah.
No, I understand. I understand. So I have a lot of stories, right? There's this book that I read. There's a lot of stories. I watch people lives and I'm like, oh shit, that's a story. You know, my own life is a story. So
Yeah.
anytime I do tell a story, it's probably definitely I went through it. Or if I did not go through it, it impacted me on the way that I'm like, oh shit, I can see this happening
Yeah.
and I can relate to this.
Yeah.
So I don't even know half of the time. Okay, so I start off with a plan when I go in class, right? We all do. We have a plan. And then depending on you guys, depending on if my plan is going to stay or not, I'm reading the room. Some yogis will walk up to me and tell me something personal before class, telling me why they're there. So now my whole theme changed.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I'm saying? Now, and it's not like I'm not thinking of the other yogis that's in my class. It's just that I know when I tell this story, directing it to this yogi, that everybody else is gonna feel it too.
Oh yeah.
My stories, it comes just the moment, like what's going on, what I'm feeling, you know, and I get really emotional in my classes. So whatever I'm feeling at that moment, I'm just regurgitating.
Oh, I love it so much. And actually, a yoga teacher, I taught back to back with her the other day, the other Friday. I was teaching at 4, and she had taken her class the 1:30. And I was like, how's your day going? And she was like, honestly, I just took Alicia's class, and she told a story directly to me. And at the end of class, she had come up to me and said, like, I told that story for you. And she was like, I knew that she did when she was saying it, but it was like so helpful to like also have you reiterate that and say, like, I heard you, I saw you. And she was like, my whole day has changed. And I was like, oh, she's just the best. How does she do it?
That makes me happy because I started yoga to let everybody know that it's okay to have a human experience. We all have it. Social media make us think that we can't wear the outfit twice. You know what I'm saying? Little stupid things. And I'm like, no, we're having a human experience. Have it. Have it. Just have it around somebody that's going to hold the space for you.
Yeah. And
So I'm gonna be exactly who I'm supposed to be. So the people that's looking for me, they're gonna find me,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for creating the space, holding the space, that energy that you bring, the authenticity, and like the way that you are able to adjust on the fly to meet the needs of the yogis and feel the energy. I mean, you have to be in like mad intuitive to be able to read the room the way that you do.
Right. Yes, I do. It's sometimes draining. Like I can feel you guys maybe too much, and I'm still trying to tap into that. So I'm just like, sometimes it can be real draining because I feel it. It's like I'll just start crying while I'm in Shavasana. I'm like, why am I crying? I am happy right now. The room is packed. We had a great class. Why am I crying? And then at the end of class, somebody would come up and be like, oh, we're both in Shavasana. I was like, you. You. I'm like, you had me crying. She's like, you had me crying. I'm like, no. Literally, you had me crying. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So, in that same vein, then, how do you stay grounded? And you'd use the term cut the cords before. How do you stay grounded, stay present, and recharge?
You'd have asked me this 2 years ago, I would have told you a whole different answer. But today, I literally go in the bathroom, turn off the light, turn the shower on, breathe in the steam, and I just be there.
Yeah.
I just breathe. I need at least 3 to 5 minutes. That's all I need is to get back to myself, right? And then if I could sneak a yoga class up in there, that's great. But I live further away from the yoga that I practice. There's really none here. So if I can't get a yoga class, I am breathing in the dark and I just need quiet and just breathe. And I have to ask myself, well, why are you so upset? And 9 out of 10 is because I can't control what's going on at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not being in control is a theme that I am currently working through. Stuff.
Crazy how it's like, I was talking to a friend and she's like, he's just spazzing out. And I'm like, she's not in control. So you're and so it was the answer, but yeah, it's crazy when people feel like they have no control over, they just want something, just one thing that they can control. And I'm like, your breath, control it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna have to try breathing in the dark. Does that help you just minimize distractions?
You call me crazy, but I'm like, if I can't see, maybe everything else is enhanced a little bit more. I don't want to hear anything. So I do believe the darkness is just going to make me close my eyes, shut down, and just be in that moment. I have the rain noise. It's the shower. I have the rain noise in the back
Yeah.
to calm me, I
Yeah.
have the steam that I'm breathing in, open up my lungs. And I'm just breathing. And it's just about 3 to 5 minutes, right? It's not long at all. It's a quick shower, but I'm not in the shower. I'm just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a really, really helpful tip. I'm gonna try it, and I appreciate you saying that. Not a lot of the times what you need to come back to is just realizing that it's a situation that you can't control, and that's frustrating.
It's very frustrating.
And then on the other end of what keeps you grounded, what inspires you?
A healthy body. I promise. I have so many family members passed away of cancer. So just a healthy body inspires me, a healthy mind, healthy energy, good energy. And that just inspired me to want more of that. So
Yeah.
that inspires me just to be healthy. And if you would have told me this a long time ago, I used to eat pork chops, pig lips, and I'm not saying that that's bad to eat. You eat whatever you want to eat, but from doing my research, I want to consume good things. So a healthy everything, just lining everything up.
Yeah. Yeah, because you really take good care of what you put in your body, very intentional about it. How has that impacted the way that you're able to show up?
you know, I hate to sound cliche, you are what you eat. And I promise that's the truth. I used to eat beef, again, nothing's wrong with it, but then, I mean, I used to tear some beef up, but I used to feel sluggish after.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can do this. I can do high knees for 60 seconds. Why do I feel like this? I was like, it has to be the meat. So I did a little experience. I'm like, let me experiment. Let me see what happens when I don't eat that. And I showed up different. I showed up more energized. I'm more lean that I don't eat meat now. And I know that sounds crazy. I'm 138. When I was eating meat and all of that cheese and stuff, I was 126. I couldn't gain any weight. I was sluggish. My stomach was having problems. And now it's just like, I'm more healthier than I am at 39 than I were at 19. I can outrun the 19-year-old me, and the 19-year-old me was really, really fast, you know?
And I think it's important that you acknowledge, like, it's what felt best in your body and for you. Because as a nutritionist, people are always like, well, what do you think about vegan? What do you think about carnivore? What do you think about XYZ thing? And I think they all have a purpose. And I think that that's where the controversy lies, is because vegan is not going to be good for one person and it's going to be amazing for another. Carnivore going to be terrible for one person, amazing for another. And I think that I appreciate you saying, like, there's no shade. This is just my experience, how I feel, what my body needs. And I love that you've been able to honor that and not feel the pressure. Because I remember one time before a class, we were chatting and you're like, I'm going to a barbecue. I got to bring my black bean burger. Like, I got to show up here because they're not cooking the black bean burger for me. And like, it's tough. It's tough to stick to what makes you feel good and what is true to you when other people aren't in that space or feel that way.
And I have to cook this for my kids because they're like, what? My son was like, Mom, I would love what you're doing, but dude, you have to fix me some chicken. I'm like, I get it. So I'm frying it, I'm seasoning it, and I'm like, the only thing that I miss chicken, baked, fried, all of it. I miss chicken. I miss chicken. So yeah. But it's like, it's not good for me. For me, it's not good for me. Then I'm just going to stay away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do you make these choices and stick with them? Because I feel like so many people struggle with consistency or just feeling strong enough in their decisions to keep them. How do you do it?
These decisions just out of the blue. That's why I'm laughing. I was in the grocery store one day and I was like, I'm not buying any more pork. Just out the blue.
Yeah.
And my sister was like, yeah, right. And I was like, I'm not doing it anymore. And I just stopped. It's out the blue because I don't know. I just think when you plan stuff, sometimes it don't go through and then you're hard on yourself when it don't go through. You didn't put all that pressure on yourself and now hey man, I woke up this morning, I'm not eating cheese. When? As long as I can go. How long is, I don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes, did you come to my class? Did you name your ego? Have you ever been to a class when I say name your ego?
No.
Okay, so, I tell some folks name their ego because we need to be in tune with our divine self, our ego self, our entire temple. We need to be in tune. And some people think that their ego is not their amigo. And it is. Your ego is really here to keep you safe. Like you try something new and it fails, and then you want to try it again, your ego will be like, well, last time you did that, you failed. It's not to keep you from doing it. It's just that last time you did it, you failed and that hurt. Yeah. Mentally and physically, and you don't want to do that again, remember? So I named my ego Bertha. And so Bertha will step in and be like, look at you. You about to eat that chicken, huh? And I'm like, Bert. So willpower, man, willpower. You gotta be that critic for yourself sometimes. You have to be that person and be like, because some people, they see you not doing something that you said you was not gonna do, and they may not be rooting for you, but pretending that they are. And so you may have that conversation. I think I'm gonna eat meat, and they may be like, "Go ahead, eat it." And that's just like, "Oh, you think I should?" It's like so it's like, no, I'm gonna have that conversation with Bertha. And I have a divine self. I name my divine self to her. Her name is Diane. So, we have these discussions, and I know when I need Bertha and when I don't. When I don't need her, I tell her, back up. I don't need you right now. You're telling me not to do this. Last time it hurt, but this time I'm gonna try again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I notice when Bertha is talking and when Diane is talking, when I'm in chair and you're saying, you got this, that's Bertha telling me you got this. Because if you're talking to yourself, why are you saying you?
Yeah.
If you say, I got this, that's Diane. That's my divine part talking to me.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind when you're in a hard situation and you're like, come on, Kat, you got this, you got that. That's your ego. And it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's so helpful. When did you learn, or how did you learn the difference between the two parts? Because I went through theta healing training, and part of that was meeting your higher self, your divine, whatever you call it. But none of that training was, in that training, did we talk about like the ego or the ego in general, and deciphering those two from those two voices. I've never heard someone explain it to me like that. So how did you get there?
My holistic coaching and 300 hours. Again, shout out to Melanie Taylor. She's my mentor. That woman has challenged me in ways that I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But it's for the best. And no, it's going through her 300 hours in her holistic training. She was letting me know, so that was your ego. And I'm like, okay. And then I started doing research on my own, figuring things out. And I'm like, that was my ego.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to myself, I won't say you have it. Why would I, it's like, duh. Yeah.
Oh, that is such a cool insight. I've never thought of it like that, but I'm gonna start noticing the language. Oh, I love that.
Words are spells.
Sure do.
Yeah. And they literally tell us we're spelling words. They're putting it in our face and we don't even recognize it.
No, it's so true. I mean, okay, would love to hear your take then on, like, you are what you eat, you are what you think as well.
You are what you speak. Watch your words. The tongue is powerful because words are spells. Like, I can keep telling you 20 days in a row, Kat, you're so pretty. Kat, you so pretty. And then you're going to be like, no, I am pretty. When but if I was to say something else, that can be something else. Telling your kid, you're stupid, stop. That's a spell that you're putting on someone.
Yeah.
Same as a curse. Oh, when I see that person, I'm going to curse them out. You're literally cursing.
Yeah.
You're putting a curse on them.
Yeah.
So literally watch what you say.
Yeah.
And that took a while for me to learn that. And I'm like, oh, snap. So, but everything that I learned, I teach my kids. They're like, oh, here go another lection. I'm like, show this. Yep. Yeah, you got to learn something because I don't want you to learn this at 30 something and you can learn it now. You know?
Oh, and they're going to be so much better for it, especially everything that you've said throughout our conversation, the patience, the listening to yourself, how you speak, the goals that you set for yourself and the way that you approach them. I got off track, but something I wanted to say is I love how you were like, I didn't want to set myself up for failure, but I just decided to do it, and for however long I can. And that's what it is. It's not this like finite thing that you're applying judgment to, but it's just like, I'm going to do it, see how it goes.
Yep. And I actually learned that from grounding my kids. Because I used to say, you got 2 weeks of punishment, emotional, 2 weeks. And then after a week, I'm like, you can get back on your phone. And I'm like, that wasn't cool.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, you're punished. For how long? I don't know, man. I don't know. You know?
Ah,
And so, yeah. Because I don't want to tell them you're punished for 2 days. And then after those 2 days, I don't think you learned or we didn't get to where we were supposed to be. So it's like,
yeah.
until we figure it out, right? So
What a beautiful lesson too, of just being able to roll with it in that way and listen to your intuition a little bit more, because something told you in the grocery store not to buy pork. Something told you that your kid needed to be punished, but for how long, that's up to you all to decide, to see how it goes. And so, again, I think that that's just a testament to how in touch with you are. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me and sharing the highs and the lows of your story and how you've become this like mecca inspirational yoga teacher that I have definitely looked up to since I started teaching last year. I'm so grateful that we backed up to each other for as long as we did, because I got to see you interact with your yogis. I got to attend your class so much more than I am able to now, because I live 35 minutes from Bishop, and like just got to be able to be in your space. And it's helped me grow so much as a teacher, as a student, as a person. I think for me personally, there's never been an interaction that I have had with you that I haven't left feeling better, or at least with food for thought.
Thank you. No, it's you, one of my favorite teachers. I tell everyone, I always shout you out. When you're not in a room, I still speak your name. You be like, ooh, I'm like, how does she know I needed to do this? That's my favorite part, because you exhale right when I'm exhaling. I'm like, how does she know? I can tell you practice your sequence before you teach us, because you be like, and I'd be like, I know. So yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, you've given so much advice, but would love what one piece of advice you would give to your younger self would be.
Just do it. Don't worry about anyone else's approval. You see the dream, you see the light, and you trying to wait for anyone else's approval, they're not going to chase your dreams like you are. Go, even if you have to go alone. Go.
I love that.
Yeah.
And there have been so many moments in our conversation today where I think that you embodied that, especially the amount of times I heard you say, I just had to do it. I just had to do it. So your younger self would be proud of you. And how can people find you, take your class, get in touch with you, work with you in the many different ways? I know that you have your hands in a lot of different things. So give us all the tea.
You can catch me at Sweat with Alicia on Instagram. You can catch me on the internet. I have a Google page, Intentionally Grounded. That's the name of my business. You can hit me up for holistic coaching, privates. That's whatever you need. And I'm here. I'm here for whatever.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Again, I just cannot say enough good things about you. And I wanted to have you on the show for such a long time because, as your brother said, I've noticed how special you are and how special the community that you've created is, your classes are. And you're just one of my favorite people. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, my baby. I appreciate you.